Happy New Year, friends. Or early New Year if there is a God and I'm able to have this video done before January. Future me will confirm or deny this. Now, despite a year that is probably best left forgotten, at the very least, I did get to play a lot more video games. So folks, let's sit back and enjoy going through all the games I've played this year, ranked worst to best. Disclaimer, these are the games I've played this year, not all of them came out in this year, and I haven't played Cyberpunk yet. Anyway, let's begin by taking a look at the worst game I've played this year. So, I was originally planning on putting all 3 Rogue Squadron games in one spot. Then I remembered that this game is horrible. See, I had remembered that Rogue Squadron 3 wasn't very good before playing it again. Then I became increasingly more infuriated as I remembered just how bad it actually was, along with new glitches that I didn't even know about. Much like last year, my worst of is a matter of disappointment. But in this case, it came on the heels of 2 spectacular video games. I mean, the lagging, eaten inputs, janky platforming in a dogfighting series, and just overall unfun levels completely ruin this game and makes me not even consider it as part of the Rogue Squadron series. But on the bright side, I've done a video on it, so there's no need to play it again. For the rest of my life. Alright, I've got 4 more Star Wars games on this list, so let's move on. Anyone remember that Super Mario Sunshine commercial where Mario picks up garbage and it had a really cringy anti-littering song? Look it up. I still have not played Super Mario Galaxy. That will be my next video, probably. But I've played through Super Mario Sunshine All-Stars and most of Super Mario 64 3D All-Stars. And they're Super Mario Sunshine and Super Mario 64. I mean, they did patch out some exploits, which kinda ruined some of the fun for me, and scaled up the graphics, despite the controls being virtually no better than before. I mean, I can't completely complain here. These are some fantastic video games, and if you haven't had a chance to play them, then I guess this isn't a complete waste of money. However, when I went back and played Super Mario World without any upgrades in graphics and gameplay, I had an absolute blast. And while I decided not to put that game on this list because it would have been number 1 most years, this throwback to the great 3D Super Mario games is just very underwhelming. But you know what they say, clean is better than dirty, and dirty's meaner than clean. Seriously, look up that commercial. Knock knock. Who's there? Ray. Ray who? Exactly. After replaying all 3 Rogue Squadron games, I was more than ready to suit up and check out EA's take on a Star Wars dogfighting video game. So, after playing through the campaign, and a decent amount of games online, I have come to the conclusion that this game is absolutely incredibly okay. First things first, the graphics are amazingly gorgeous, and the gameplay is astoundingly tight and responsive. This is a game that legitimately feels good to play. The dogfights are intense, and the customization adds plenty of replayability. However, with a completely average campaign and a passable online multiplayer, with occasionally spotty servers, you end up with a very moderate video game. And while there have been B-Wings and TIE Defenders added, I have a feeling those will only hold my attention for a matter of hours. So thankfully, Star Wars Squadrons is no Rogue Squadron 3, however, it ain't exactly the first 2 either. Do not adjust your televisions. Or computer monitors, as the case may be. Not for broadcast has you take the role of an editor in a nightly news booth as you edit, censor, and sit through Monty Python levels of humor. And you know what? It's pretty darn fun. With 5 broadcasts so far and a second chapter coming soon, there is plenty of gameplay, challenge, and replayability to be had. As you steer the narrative of each broadcast, you'll have a chance to modify your experience each time, all while trying to keep up ratings. Whether supporting the new government, allowing pundits to make a fool of themselves, or desperately trying to save a doomed segment, this game keeps the challenge going with each broadcast. So if these first few episodes are any indication of the future, I am very excited to see where this game leads. Till then, I'll continue honing my skills and keep my finger on the censor button. And now, for a game that was extremely popular for about 2 minutes. This elimination-styled platformer, heavily inspired by Takeshi's Castle, is incredibly fun. With episodes continuously being added, there are now tons of ways to leap, tag, and overall scratch and claw your way to victory, along with getting some sweet skins. I think the brilliance of this game comes from the fact that it's so simple. There is nothing complicated about any of these challenges, and many of them rival Mario Party levels of replayability. Early Mario Party anyway. And while I have yet to get myself a crown, I still had a blast running, jumping, and falling down. Up next, let's take a look at a game that I was 11 years late in playing. I really liked Heavy Rain. A long time ago, I had reviewed Indigo Prophecy, and while I liked that game, it was very clearly unfinished. Heavy Rain, however, managed to tell an intriguing mystery, all from the perspective of 4 characters, and I found it incredibly engaging from start to finish. With plenty of plot paths and the knowledge that almost any character can die, there were plenty of moments when I was on the edge of my seat as I had to hold my hand steady completing the QTEs. Plus, knowing the plot twist at the end of the game actually opens far more options for replayability. So, while I may be one of the few people who hadn't played this game before now, I am very glad that I had a chance to play this intense, cinematic, and incredibly engaging video game. You ever think isolation has driven you insane? Well, with our next game, there's no need to imagine. I was planning on making a video after I finished Firewatch, but I was struggling with what I wanted to say. So let's try now. Firewatch is a beautiful video game in both its visuals and in its narrative. This tale of a man getting away from everything while working in a national park not only is incredibly reflective, but it also tells a great tale of perspective. As you progress through this game, you'll see some wonderful, strange, and even unsettling events. And by the end, you may not know how you should feel. But I think that's the beauty of it. This is just one of those games that you experience more so than you play. And it's a game that's incredibly thought-provoking at that. While the summer may be over, and it's time to leave the wilderness, I will always have the memories of this fascinating experience. Now, if you thought I was late in playing Heavy Rain, yes, it's true, before August of 2020, I had never played Minecraft. The main reason being, I was sure it was a fine game, but I knew that as soon as I started playing, I'd get nothing done. I was 100% correct about that. Now, I don't really think I have anything insightful to add, but I did find it astounding how this game encourages you to dig, build, and dig some more, just by the sheer enjoyment of doing so. Seriously, I didn't even plan on finishing the game at first, and my early playthrough was just multiple excavations looking for diamonds. In time, I built a nice house, went to the Nether, and finally finished the game proper. I think that's the true mastery of Minecraft, and the main reason it's so popular. It is so enjoyable that it pulls you in perpetually. While I have given the game a break in the meantime, Minecraft was a fine way to pass the time this year. So, you want to survive the plague, do you? No, not that game. I was only ever vaguely aware of this game and very blindly pulled the trigger on my purchase. Looks like I hit a bullseye on this one. This tale of two siblings trying to survive a malicious bubonic plague, along with a nefarious inquisition looking to kill them, is quite intense to say the least. On top of that, this game has a wide cast of characters, all of whom have unique personalities, and do a spectacular job of making the player actually care about them. The stealth gameplay is wonderfully dynamic, and the references to medieval alchemy and witchcraft add another layer of intrigue. This was a fantastic video game, and if the ending is any indication, it looks like this plague tale may not be over. Until then, I'll grab my slingshot and brace myself to fight the rats.
Spies sapping my...
I do believe this is a popular opinion among players, but I feel that TF2 is simultaneously my most and least favorite video game. When this game is good, it's great. You can have incredibly intense pitched battles showcasing the skill and ingenuity of each team, or you can get stuck in a server full of bots ruining the game. You can have a game where everyone goes friendly and show off your collected taunts and unusuals, or end up in a game where you are unable to leave spawn due to map exploits. I have played this game off and on for the better part of 10 years, and let's just say I've had my complaints. But you know what? Despite some of the worst bot incursions earlier this year, Team Fortress 2 has beaten its overall player count, and at least since summer, has given some really fun maps along with some sweet new cosmetics. I mean, heck, even I picked up some unusuals this year. Chances are I'll never be finished with TF2, and if Valve continues updating at this rate, we may just get the heavy update yet. You were good, son. Real good. Maybe even the best. R.I.P., soldier. And now, let's take a look at some games that I've played through at least 4 times now. Ah, memories. Every time I come back to these games, I more or less know what to expect. I mean, the hidden tapes sure aren't moving. But this take on these wonderful video games not only showed great graphics and buttery smooth gameplay, but with online multiplayer and tons of customization, I could reasonably recommend picking up these remasters, even at full price. It was so much fun playing through these classic stages and letting muscle memory kick in, all while jamming to the exact same soundtrack, along with some welcome new additions. I have basically nothing but good things to say about this take on Tony Hawk, and I still attest that if these 2 games are remastered every 10 years, I would probably be dumb enough to buy them. So here I am, doing everything I can, holding on to what I am, pretending I'm a Superman. I think the best thing we can do is try to open our eyes and appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. As the first game that I've played this decade, What Remains of Edith Finch sure did start this year on an emotional note for me. A story of a family's curse and many deaths, all told by the last living member, by all rights should be horrifying. And depending on your perspective, it very well could be. But this game instead takes a very uplifting and optimistic look at both life and death in general. As the Finches were largely convinced that their family was cursed, you'll see the memories of each member run the gambit of deaths by hubris, disappearance, and even pure irony. But in the end, curse or not, Edith decides to not let all of this knowledge break her spirit, and leaves the player with a beautiful conclusion. I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. All wings report in. Now let's take a look at the good Rogue Squadrons. The first Rogue Squadron game took players on a trip through the Star Wars extended universe and gifted us with incredibly tight controls, some pretty nice graphics for the time, and some seriously fun missions. The second game focused much more on the first three films, but the wonderful improvement in graphics and some far more challenging missions created a great gaming experience. I have played these games so many times over the years, and the fun never ends, even after knowing exactly what to expect. Quite frankly, these are the games that Star Wars Squadrons was trying to be, and still stand the test of time years later. And while a Rogue Squadron film has just been announced, a film that I'll be optimistic about because I apparently enjoy being hurt, I am totally happy with the memories of some of the best games I'd played in my childhood. Time to return to base, Rogue Group. May the Force be with you. It's good to be the king. Crusader Kings III is one of the most impressive games that I've ever played. Now, I've played most of the Paradox RTS games, and while I generally enjoy them, I was not expecting much from this incarnation. It could be that CK2 wasn't necessarily one of my favorites, or the fact that their last outing with Imperator Rome was incredibly underwhelming, but this game knocked it out of the park. CK3 took all of the gameplay elements of CK2, smoothed out the more obtuse features, and expanded upon the fun. There are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of nations, religions, and government combinations to choose from, along with the ability to create and reform your very own religions from scratch. The scheming and inner politicking among both your own and neighboring courts adds tons of intrigue and may lead to some hilarious outcomes. And if you think you can't run Iceland as an atomist reformation which encourages familial marriages, nudity, deviancy, witchcraft, and murder, then you are sadly mistaken. This is slowly becoming one of my favorite Paradox RTSs, and with its constant updates, I'm sure I'll find more ways to retake the Holy Land, time and time again. Non nobis domine. Deus vult. And now, the best game that I have played in 2020. Now, for those of you who were paying attention at the beginning of this video, you knew that there was one more Star Wars game on this list. Fallen Order is legitimately the best Star Wars game that I've played since Coder 2. This tale of a former Padawan in hiding shortly after the Clone Wars has you exploring wonderful environments, learning powerful Force abilities, and meeting some truly unique characters. On top of that, the Dark Souls-inspired gameplay makes for a Star Wars game where I get a true feel for sword fighting as a Jedi. And on top of that, this game has actual, competent stormtroopers. But what stood out for me the most was the story. Cal Kestis is put in an unenviable position as he is on the run from the newly formed Empire and is attempting to rebuild the Jedi Order, all while also being chased by Sith Inquisitors and bounty hunters. As the game progresses, Cal must come to terms with his own fears and doubts as his memories come back to haunt him. Literally. However, through sheer determination, the help of his friends, and some very interesting lessons in morality, you end up with one wonderful plot. Add on an incredible range of enemies and one of the most terrifying final boss fights I've ever experienced, and you have the best game I have played in 2020. Thanks for watching, folks, and here's to another year of eDog reviews. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got more games to play long after they were released.